What's going on, YouTube? I had actually made an audio recording yesterday talking about this topic, but I was like, nah, let me just go ahead and make an actual video. I doubt you guys just want to sit and listen and just look at the black ass screen. You know, it's one thing if it's a podcast, but when you're talking about something, you want, people to be attentive to it. So I want to talk about relapses and how to deal with them, how to avoid them, just relapses in general. Because I get a lot of comments on my videos, and just let me put this out real quick. If you comment on my video, like maybe refresh the page and make sure that your comment actually got left, because I get hella comments, but sometimes I try to click on them and reply to them, or whatever the case may be, and when I go to the video, it's not there anymore. So make sure it's actually going through. I don't know if that's a YouTube glitch. YouTube is deleting your comments. I don't know how that is, but just make sure it's actually going through. But I get a lot of comments on my videos with people just basically in astonishment that I made it a year, and at this point a year and a month, without having any relapses, not one whatsoever. And what people need to understand, the thing with relapses is it gets easier over time. It doesn't get harder over time. When you first start off, the difficulty level is like at a 9 or a 10. You know what I'm saying? It's really hard not to go back to your old ways. Well, let me say this. It probably starts off at like a 7 or 8. And then as time goes, it gets harder and harder. A lot of people have different points where it peaks, where the difficulty level peaks. Some people peak at a week. Some people peak at 2 months, 3 months. Certain people have different times where the difficulty level is just extremely hard. But once you get over that hill, whatever time it is, and of course the sooner the better, but once you get over that hill, it starts getting easier and easier to the point where it is now, me being a year in, plus the amount of time I had before, because I have a year and a month now. Then I had a 2-month hiatus where I wasn't doing anything. But then before that, I had like a 6 or a 7-month streak. So right now, I've been living this lifestyle for 7 years. It's not that hard for me to retain. It's not that hard for me to stay consistent with no FAP, because I've been doing this for so long. It's just basically been ingrained within my subconscious mind. So, of course, there's a little bit of urges. I was watching a Flavor Flav video on Vlad TV, and he was talking about his addiction, and he was talking about how however long you were an addict, that's the amount of time you're gonna have to put in recovery. So, if you were struggling with all of this for like 10 years of your life, let's say you started at 12 and you're 22 years old, it may take you another 10 years possibly just to completely get it out of your system. And I don't completely agree with that theory, but it does make a lot of sense. You've done a lot of damage, but fortunately with semen retention and no FAP, your body heals very quickly, because you have all these different aspects of it. You got the mental, the physical, the spiritual. So, it doesn't take that long for you to heal. So at this point right now, I'm not fully healed. I still got to keep my guard up. I still got to be cognizant of the things that I'm around and, just staying vigilant. But at the same time, like I always tell you guys, like, I don't even really think about this shit on a day-to-day basis. I think about it when I get comments from you guys. I think about it when I'm about to make a video. I think about it like certain people in my life that may come across my YouTube channel and they ask me questions. But on a day-to-day basis, like, I really don't even think about it like that. I didn't even really realize it had been a whole month since I made that 1-year semen retention update. It's been a whole month. It's September 27th today. I made that video like August 20th. So, you reach a point where it just becomes easy and you learn what makes you relapse and what doesn't make you relapse. I remember when I first started this journey, because I started with no FAP. I wasn't intentionally doing semen retention. I started with no FAP, and the goal was to make it to 90 days and just have a full reboot. And I'm gonna go back into why I don't recommend doing the 90-day challenge thing. But I remember they were saying, like, don't watch TV shows with a whole lot of sex, and don't play video games with sexual innuendo in it, and try not to go around girls. Don't go to the beach, or don't go to the pool. Like, all these different things. Like, for me personally, I never struggled with that. I could see girls shake their ass at a strip club if that's what I chose to do. I could watch Game of Thrones. I could play God of War. You remember how the most sex scenes used to be in God of War and GTA and shit? I could do all of that. And me personally, I wouldn't have any stronger urges than I would, if I wasn't around that. But some people, it may be the video games that get them. For other people, it's going to the beach. For other people, it's Game of Thrones. Like, everybody has different triggers, and everybody recovers in a different way. So, you know, although I've always said that if you can't be around even simple things like that, you're not fully healed. You know, in the meantime, yeah, you probably do want to avoid things like that if you know it's going to trigger you. Me personally, I didn't struggle with that, but if you're one of those people that you know stuff like that triggers you, then stay away from it while you're recovering. Get a few months under your belt, maybe even a year under your belt before you really start engaging in that sort of behavior, and then reassess your situation. And then, like, furthermore, although you need to take accountability for your relapses, you know, you need to, how do I want to say this? You need to hold yourself responsible if you do slip up. You know, if you slip on a banana peel and you relapse somehow, either by watching porn, edging, or maybe you actually, maybe it was having sex with a girl, whatever, because, you know, there's different rules for no FAP and semen retention. But if you relapse somehow, what you need to do is take accountability for it, but at the same time, don't beat yourself up. Because, like, right now, I got a year and a month in. If I was to relapse, it wouldn't even set me back. I wouldn't be making progress for a while. It would just kind of pause my progress. I wouldn't regress, I wouldn't progress. I would just be kind of paused for a while until my body, you know, gets back on track. But, you know, I got years. I got years under my belt doing this. One little relapse isn't going to just set me off. You know what I'm saying? If you're 3 months in, if you relapse, yeah, it's probably not the best thing, but it's not taking you back to square one. You know what I'm saying? The more time you put in and the more effort you've been putting in. If you've been meditating, because 3 months, a 3-month dirty streak where you've been peaking and everything isn't even equivalent to a 30-day streak where you've been meditating, you've been fasting, you've been exercising, you've done everything hard mode. You know, you've just been completely pure. There's different levels to all of this. But it's not really about the time. It's about the amount of energy you have. You know what I'm saying? I'm sure, and, you know, I do my meditation, I exercise, but there's some people out there who probably have only done 6 months, half the amount of time I have, but they got way more jing just in their body because they spend much more time meditating and really exploring their spirituality. Me personally, I take some time to meditate. I eat pretty good. I exercise, but I don't dedicate my entire life to it. There's been some people who dedicate their, you know, they're monks. They're on monk mode. They've dedicated their entire lives to the betterment of themselves spiritually. So there's different levels to this. And I'm saying all that to say, when you relapse, you can't beat yourself up, because when you beat yourself up, you end up inadvertently accepting defeat. And when you accept defeat, that's when you start binging, because you're like, fuck it, I already fucked up. I might as well keep going. And then you've done it a second time, then a third time, then a fourth time, up until the point where you've done it a 10th time. And by that point, yeah, you have completely just thwarted all of your progress that you've made so far. So, you know, you want to avoid those relapses as much as you can. But in the learning process, because I've made it a whole year, no relapses. But before that year, I had a 2-month hiatus where it took me 2 whole months after being on a 7-month streak just to get back on track. And before that 7-month period, I was failing left and right. I tried to make it a week. I couldn't make it a week. Then I would make it 3 weeks. Then I would make it 5 days. Then 1 day. Then a whole month. Then it was just my streaks were everywhere because I just couldn't stay consistent. So, you know, it's easy for y'all to look at me talk about being a year, and you're like, oh man, you know, he did everything right. He's so much better than me. But, you know, you got to remember, I was right where you were. You know what I'm saying? It took me a long time. It took me about 2 months before I could even make it 7 months. And then I still let my guard down. I had 7 months. I was over the hump. I was over halfway to a year, and I just completely let my guard down, and I fucked around and lost 2 months. I spent 2 whole months not doing a damn thing for myself spiritually. So, you know, everybody slips on banana peels, but it's important that if you do slip, it's just that, a slip. You can't completely fall over. If you completely fall over, that's where the binging comes in, and that's where you accept defeat. So, you know, avoid those relapses as much as you can. And, you know, you want to do your other homework too. You want to be fasting. You want to be meditating. You want to be exercising, spending time in nature, spending time with people who actually bring positive energy into your life. And then at that point, everything else will fall into place. You know what I'm saying? But if you're living the same lifestyle you were living before you started this lifestyle, it's going to be that much harder to stay consistent because you haven't really implemented any real change into your routine. So, you know, you got to stay on top of that. You got to stay vigilant. And that's when you're going to see long-term success. The next thing you know, you'll look up, it's been a month, 3 months, and 6 months. Oh, and I'm glad I said that before I end the video. You know, I've said this before too. You can't like fucking, how do I want to put this? You can't just ingrain it into your head that, oh, I'm going to make it 30 days. Oh, I'm going to make it 90 days. Or I'm going to make it a year. Because once you put that in your head, you're inadvertently, subconsciously, you're putting it in your subconscious that once I get to a certain point, whether it be 30 days, 60 days, whatever, I deserve a reward. You know, it's like when you lose weight. Let's say you're 200 pounds, you want to get down to 180. You're like, okay, I got to lose 20 pounds. What happens 99% of the time people get down to their goal weight? They start cheating again because they're like, oh, I deserve a reward. I deserve a break. Then they fuck around and gain all the weight back and sometimes more because they've told their body, they've told their psyche that, yeah, once I get to a certain point, I'm good. I don't have to try as hard anymore. And the same thing applies to this. You can't have it in your head that I just need to make it 30 days. I just need to make it 90 days. You know, I always say 90 days because that's usually what you hear people prescribe, the 90-day reboot, 3-month reboot. You can't put that in your head that I'm going to make it 90 days because that's, next thing you know, you'll look up and it's the 90th day and you feel relief. You feel like you don't have to try as hard anymore because you made it. Next thing you know, you throw all your 90 days away on a stupid-ass weekend binge. You know what I'm saying? Same thing applies for 6 months. Same thing applies for 7 months, a year, 3 years, 5 years, even 10 years even, you know. Not 9 years from now, I want to be able to say I made it 10 years possibly. I can't put my guard down ever. You got to stay vigilant, you know, because you could throw everything away just like that because you are fighting an addiction. So keep that in mind too. Stay on point, stay accountable, but at the same time, just relax and just live your life. It's not all about this. You could watch the videos, you know, you could talk about it to your peers, people who have like-minded, you know, you could tell people about it, but you can't obsess about this all the time because then next thing you know, you'll make it to a certain point and you'll feel like you need a break. Next thing you know, you've looked up and you've spent a whole month just completely in complete regression. You know what I'm saying? You've just thwarted all of your progress. So hopefully this video was informative. Leave a like if you liked it. Leave a dislike if you didn't like it. But most importantly, make sure you leave a comment because I read all of your comments, even the ones that don't end up going through. I read the notification. I just can't always read them, but I read all of your comments and I try to reply to every one. So make sure you leave a comment. Let me know your thoughts, and I'll talk to you guys next time. Peace.